So I have two fabulous gentlemen from Fit for an Autopsy, Joe and Pat, with me. How are you guys?
Very good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Very good. So I'll dive straight into the Sea of Tragic Beasts. Kind of like looking at in terms of lyrics and things like that from the final track, I feel like, does the record have something to do with climate change and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The way we write and the way the lyrics are, Will and I discuss a lot of stuff. Will and Joe discuss a lot of stuff on subject matter that they want to use, subject matter we want to use, things that we think we should touch on. And social implications are very, very, very important when it comes to what we write and what we do. You mentioned Napalm Dreams. That line is the one line in the record. Well, that and the line from Warfare. We'll get into both. The All I Wanted Was a Way Out thing.
Yeah.
Like, there was a point in time when I was suicidal. I was going through a lot of things in my life, like lost a bunch of people. And every time I hear that line, it's like something I connect with instantly. And the way Joe sings it and the way it's so fucking sad at the end of this like angry record. It's just like, it's like this climax and then I'm giving up. All I Wanted Was a Way Out. And it's like this thing, and the way it repeats, it's perfect to me.
Well, it's the way you build up that frustration in it. Like the record is all frustrating. It is frustrating, like having to live day by day through all of this shit and like trying to just survive through it. And by the end of the record, you could just feel all the frustration and pain going into it. So I feel like that's why I feel like it impacts a lot of people towards the end.
Yeah, it really does.
If they did the solid listen all the way through and then it hits them that hard at the end, then I think we did our job.
First time I listened to the whole record, full disclosure, I was real standoffish about that song.
Everyone hated it.
Yeah, I don't know if...
Me and Will liked it.
I didn't hate it. It's just, it doesn't feel... When you hear things raw, it doesn't feel finished, and it doesn't... That song did not sound the way it sounds now. And I was very nervous about the idea, because when you first heard it without the vocals, without all of the atmosphere and everything that Will amazingly built into the song through his production, it didn't sound the same, and it didn't sound like Fit for an Autopsy until Joe.
There was two versions of it, but we never released the first version. We wanted to try to take a little step back from it.
Yeah.
It was all clean vocals. It was cool, but I feel like
Needed something.
gotta ease your way into this.
The way that song plays out on the record, I listened to it. I lost my sister a couple years ago. I had a long conversation with my brother about it. And then the first time I sat down to listen to our whole record was 2 hours after that conversation. And I listened to the whole record front to back and literally teared up like a broken human when I heard that last part of that track, because it's like I had all these emotions and it pulled it out of me. And there's pretty interesting lyrics on there, like the lyrics from Warfare, like that first line. I just said it before, like, when the fuck did everyone decide to become a politician? It's like, who the fuck are you? Like, what do you know?
Everyone's an internet politician.
Yeah, everybody. And that song, Warfare, is literally about the way people treat each other because they believe they know more and they are better and they have the answers, and they grab onto the first bit of news that they think that's right and they go for it without researching anything or knowing anything. The reason I don't mess with politics is because I don't know enough to have an argument with you.
Yeah.
You want to argue about string gauges on a guitar? 3-hour argument.
You're mad, yeah.
But when it comes to, I can tell you our president's a shithead, but other than that, I don't have much,
Yeah.
When the fuck did everyone decide to become a politician?
For you as the singer, what was your kind of like most emotional section of the record to like actually put down to tape?
Honestly, it was probably the end of Napalm Dreams, because like I was a little choked when I was doing that part, because you do like, man, when you sing along to a song, like, and you're feeling those lyrics super hard, and your brain starts going, it really can mess with you. So like there was a lot of things happening in my life at that time, and I was feeling very emotional while I was singing it. I started almost wishing it was true, and it really fucked me up.
You could hear it.
And yeah, I feel like it was good that happened at the time that it did happen, because I feel like it gave the emotion that I was trying to play out, which is something raw and real.
Probably why I connected with it too, because Joe and I, as much as we bicker and are different kinds of humans, we have an interesting connection when it comes to like family stuff and things like that. And Joe and I have shared things with each other, so I could hear it in his voice, and that was interesting too.
I think that sentiment that you just echoed, the fact that the two of you are very different, but you also share many similarities, can kind of go for.
Some people are forgetting now.
That can go for just everyone in the metal community.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's why the metal community is so strong, is because we've all tried to find answers and friendship in places that we feel like we don't belong. When you go to your first show, by yourself or with a couple of friends, you start making more friends and more friends. You start realizing, hey, maybe I'm not the only fucked up person in this world. Maybe everyone's fucked up and I'm not the problem. Maybe I should start not looking at everyone else as the problem and just start figuring out what I need to do to make myself happy in life.
So tolerance and acceptance and education could truly stem from a world like this, and it's one of those things where the internet is the devil, and these things are getting passed along, and people make mistakes, and you're hung out to dry for it, and you're expected to be this spotless, clean human being when none of us are really that thing. Because if somebody does something wrong, you don't hang them out to dry. You say, hey man, you're not supposed to do that. This is how it's supposed to be. Or I feel this way too, but let's help you handle this together, instead of chopping a person down instantly. If you make the same mistake a few times and you're not trying to fix it, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But tolerance is so important, and I think that's what our music is about. The lack of empathy and the lack of caring and the lack of communication and tolerance for human beings is unbelievable right now.
Because we don't know what goes on behind anyone else's closed doors. That's why bullying is such a fucking huge thing for me. Sorry if I'm cursing, but
that's fine.
It's such a shitty thing, because you don't know, you're picking on someone just because maybe they look a little different, maybe they talk a little different. You don't know what goes on at home. They can be getting their ass beat every day. You have no fucking clue. And who are you to be able to push them down even further? And I just think that's messed up, and kind of really, really ticks me off, because I've been there, and that's not okay.
And I've been on both sides of it, because I was a bitter kid growing up. I had a rough life at home, and I took it out the wrong way, and it took me a long time to realize I had to make some changes. But I have a 9-year-old son, and I talk to him about this thing that I call the ripple effect. And I tell him, when you drop happiness into a pool of water, happiness ripples out and it touches all the way to the outsides of the corners of the lake or whatever it is. I said, but if you drop anger and hate into that same spot, those ripples of anger and hate go all the way out, and they touch the outsides of the lake or the pond or whatever it is. But if you smile and you're nice and you handle the situation with compassion and love, you're going to ripple out those things, and that person's going to be nice to somebody else, and that person's going to be nice to somebody else. We have to teach our kids and our friends and our families how to keep that ripple effect going in a positive way, even if it's something negative. Our records are very negative, but it's not to be like, oh yeah, fuck this world. It's to be like, hey, you see this? This is all of us. This is what we're doing. We got to change this, or else we're going to be, 20 years from now, the world's going to burn, and that's going to be it, So, yeah.
It's a very relatable message, and thank you so much for having a chat. I really, really appreciate it.
Sorry if that was long-winded.
No, not at all.